Alhamdulillah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Praise be to God. I bear witness that there is no God but God, and He has no partners. We know that submission advocates peace and harmony in society, in the world at large. The message of submission is basically peace. Even the words that is uttered by people who reach heaven is peace. So what is the meaning of this word, and why is it so much emphasized in the Quran? We know we live in a time where the Quran is often misunderstood and even attacked falsely by people who reject the message of the Quran, or people who may have a wrong understanding of the message, as a book that perpetuates or advocates violence and hate. But that is far from the truth. We all know it because we study the Quran, and we know that the Quran does not advocate hate or violence or anything. Much of this misunderstanding stems from the followers of the so-called followers of the Quran itself. Much of it is because the Quranic laws are not upheld. In fact, laws that contradict the Quran are upheld in the name of the religion. Laws that have nothing to do with the Quran are followed by the so-called followers of the Quran, thus giving a very negative and a very confused message of the Quran. You will see sometimes such individuals advocating that the Quran is the word of God and it's a message of peace, and then you see them, the same people, misquoting the Quran or even quoting sources that have nothing to do with the Quran as a source of religious guidance, and teaching that this is what the Quran teaches, or this is the message of the Quran. So we know by God's grace that the Quran, if you take the Quran as it is and study the Quran with an open mind, nobody will become a hater. Nobody will become violent also. The Quran does not teach people to be violent. The Quran does not teach people to immediately go and kill someone, or it doesn't teach us to go and attack people. Instead, the Quran says that if you forgive, that is more better. So God teaches us through the Quran forgiveness. God teaches us to be advocates of peace and harmony, kindness, gentleness. It doesn't advocate the followers of the Quran to go and immediately start a war, or if someone looks at you, stares at you, go and punch him, or if someone abuses you, you immediately start abusing them. It doesn't say that. Many verses in the Quran tell that if you forgive, that is better for you. Even when injustice is done to you, God says that if you can forgive it, that is better. However, permission is granted to the follower of the Quran to say you can fight against injustice, you can stand up for your rights. But if there is a small opportunity for you to forgive and avoid that injustice in some other way, God advocates that is better for you. Which means fighting the person, although allowed, if there is a possibility that you can forgive and move away from it, that's better for you, better for your soul. Because it takes a lot of character for a person to forgive someone who is obviously treating you badly. So, and that character building is what the Quran advocates. People should develop their souls. So, if you use that as an opportunity to forgive and say peace and move away from that, that benefits your soul immensely, rather than arguing and fighting and catching him by the collar and trying to threaten him. If you can just say, okay, that's fine, peace be upon you, and move away, that was advocated by the Quran. So this is the message of the Quran. This is the true message of the Quran. And as the representatives of the religion, we have to set that example. We can see the failure that is happening in the so-called Muslim world today in upholding these very very high or lofty values of the Quran. Quran doesn't teach some small things. Quran is teaching you a very high level of character building laws. It advocates peace. You can see many, but at the same time, it is the most realistic and most perfect religion also. The Quran simply does not teach you to be peaceful. You can find many religions that teach you to be peaceful, right? Just sit in some top of a mountain and just close your eyes and be very peaceful. That's a way to become peaceful also. You become very peaceful. Someone will spit on you, throw on you. You just sit there closing your eyes. That is peaceful. But the Quran does not just ask you to be peaceful. It asks you to become advocates of peace. It tells you to go ahead and establish peace. Doesn't simply sit there, I will make peace for myself and sit on a mountain and close my eyes. It tells you that if you see lack of peace somewhere, whether it be in a family, whether it be in a society, in a country, you have to advocate for peace. You have to take steps towards establishing peace. One of the meanings of the word Muslim is a peacemaker. Makes peace. He doesn't sit peacefully, but he creates peace for others. That is why we wish peace to others. Say that peace be upon you. So what does that tell when you say Assalamu alaikum or Assalamu alaikum or whatever it may be? You're wishing peace for another person. Right? It's not even for you. You're wishing peace for another person. So why is that? That means that's the duty of every Muslim, to make peace for others. And you attain your peace by making sure others are at peace. So such a powerful, such a amazing message the Quran is teaching us. But do we really see peace happening? No. Why? Because most people don't know why they are wishing others a peace. Why does God say wish salam to the believers? Because they know that that's what we are here for. We are here to establish peace. However, it begins with individuals. It doesn't begin with society or thing. When individuals become peaceful, society becomes peaceful. So that is why we wish each other peace. I want you to be peaceful because I know if you are peaceful and I am peaceful, we both will remain peaceful. But if I wish peace for myself, but I don't wish peace for you, maybe when I go to sleep, someone who's not very peaceful will come and disturb my peace. So it is in my best interest that everybody is at peace. That is why we give charity. That is why we ensure that our neighbors are not hungry. That is why we have that obligation to ensure that whoever is close to us and within our capacity, that we provide peace for them. So the message of the Quran is all about peace. And we are not just offering peace, but when peace is offered to us, we immediately take peace. This is what the Quran teaches us in Surah 4, verse 94. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. O you who believe, if you strike in the cause of God, you shall be absolutely sure. Do not say to one who offers you peace, you are not a believer seeking the spoils of this world, for God possesses infinite spoils. Remember that you used to be like them and God blessed you. Therefore you shall be absolutely sure before you strike. God is fully cognizant of everything you do. So if someone offers you peace, God is telling you, don't look for reasons not to take that peace and establish peace. Don't even say that you're not a believer and go for war. If someone is offering you peace, even if that person is a disbeliever and is trying to make peace treaty with you, do it. So we are always ready for peace. Believers should always strive for peace. The opportunity of peace is what we should look for. We don't look for war or conflict And this comes from individual levels. It's not between nations or tribes or groups. It has to come from individual. That is why even the believers are told, when there is a conflict between two believers, someone should mediate to ensure that there is harmony between the believers. So everywhere in the Quran we can see that God is teaching us to ensure peace is established, harmony is established, not conflict, not violence, not hate. From the tiny community level, from individual level to community level to the nation, everywhere, it is the responsibility of a Muslim, of a submitter, to ensure that peace is established. If you have the opportunity to make sure that two people don't fight, you do it. It's your duty. You don't say, I close my eyes, I'll be peaceful, let them kill each other. That's not a Muslim. Muslim is someone who intervenes and makes sure that while I'm at peace, I want you to enjoy peace as well. So therefore, don't quarrel. So this should be the behavior, or this should be the approach that a submitter should take towards peace, and that is one of our duties as a believer, as a submitter. So we have to be proponents of peace and harmony within, not just for ourselves but for others. God says in Surah 4, 114, there is nothing good about their private conferences except for those who advocate charity or righteous works or making peace among the people. This is very, God is saying, making peace among the people is so important. It's not just about giving charity and righteous works. Says so special emphasis is placed by God on making peace between people. If you have neighbors quarreling over some piece of land or boundaries or whatever, you should advocate, try to remain, make sure that if there's an opportunity for you to ensure that peace is established, you should advocate that. You should go and make sure that justice is served. So that is considered as a very good deed. So what will happen if community members all take that stand and strive towards ensuring peace between individuals, between nations, between communities? What will happen? Muslims will be considered as they are peace lovers. They are ensuring peace. We almost killed each other, but these people intervened and made sure that we didn't kill each other. Brokering peace treaties between nations, all these things, these are very much advocated by the Quran. So how can individuals of such a religion, such followers of such a book, be makers of war and violence? They cannot be makers of war. They should be looking for every opportunity to ensure there is no war, there is no violence. And if that means that someone who threatens you, ignore him, that's what you should do. That's the level to which a submitter should go. They should be advocates of peace. Anyone who does this in response to God's teachings, very important. Anyone who does this, what? Advocating charity, righteous works, and making peace among the people. Anyone who does this in response to God's teachings, we will grant him a great recompense. So this God teaches us. We have to be peacemakers. We have to ensure that we maintain peace within our community, families, and the larger society. So when individuals become of this nature, God will guide you in that path. This is mentioned in Surah 5, verse 16. With it, God guides those who seek His approval. He guides them to the paths of peace, leads them out of darkness into the light by His leave, and guides them in a straight path. So if you do not have the quality of a peacemaker, you are not really a submitter. Because a submitter is someone who seeks peace within himself. But the only way we can become a peacemaker is by first finding peace within ourselves. If we ourselves are not peaceful, we are not at peace, we can't help other people. Why would we help other people? If you are constantly in a conflict within yourself, you are insecure, you are afraid, you are at fear, You wouldn't be bothered about solving someone else's fear or insecurity because you have other things to deal with your own self. So this is the only way you can be able to give peace to another person is to first find peace within yourselves. That is why God tells us to wish peace to each other, because it starts with the individual. If the individual is not peaceful, forget about being a peacemaker. You can't. And you can't be a honest, real peacemaker because you have to be first peaceful within yourselves. In Surah 6, God teaches us to wish each other, especially believers, specifically to the believers. 6:54. When those who believe in our revelations come to you, you shall say, Salamun alaikum, peace be upon you. Your Lord has decreed that mercy is His attribute. Thus, anyone among you who commits a transgression out of ignorance and repents thereafter and reforms, then He is forgiving, most merciful. So these are the verses that teach us how important it is for a submitter to find peace within himself or herself, and at the same time advocate peace and also establish peace among the people. Inshallah, we'll continue in the next khutbah. Alhamdulillah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Praise be to God. I bear witness that there is no God but God, and He has no partners. So in many other verses also God teaches us that we have to, if people try to establish peace, we have to also cooperate and resort to peace. This is in Surah 8 verse 61. God says, if they resort to peace, so shall you, and put your trust in God. He is the hearer, the omniscient. Why would most people be reluctant to establish peace, even if the other party is willing to establish peace? Because there's a lack of trust. No, I don't think I can trust this guy, so I'm not going to establish any peace. So even in times of war, where people will never trust each other, how can you possibly trust your enemy who just killed a bunch of your relatives? It's not possible. It's that difficult. Yet God says, if they offer you peace, you shall also resort to peace. It is very hard. If you look at the actual situation of war, when you're dealing with an enemy that killed a bunch of people on your side, sometimes very close people, and that person is saying, okay, now let's make a peace treaty. Would you trust that person? Very, very the chance. But even then, God says, if they extend peace, establish peace. Leave all that hatred and trust God and establish peace. So that is the kind of level of peace the Quran is advocating, and then people think it's a book of hatred. It is not. It is asking you to make peace with the worst enemies who are there to kill you just because of your belief. Despite the fact that they just killed probably your grandfather, your own sons were probably murdered in the war, and yet God is telling, if they offer peace, do it. If they resort to peace, so shall you, and put your trust in God. He is the hearer, the omniscient. In Surah 9 verse 4, if the idol worshippers sign a peace treaty with you and do not violate it, nor band together with others against you, you shall fulfill your treaty with them until the expiration date. God loves the righteous. So it is, you have to actually put yourself in their situation to understand that these are not very simple verses telling you to keep the peace treaty with someone who just probably killed your own brother or your family. If the moment you get that guy, I will finish him off. That's what you will think, right? If you have that much pain, the moment you see him in the market, let me finish him off. You will forget about religion and all those things. But God says, if they have extended peace, don't touch them. You should not say, if they sign a peace treaty with you and do not violate it, which means they keep the peace, nor band together, nor they band together with others against you. If they have not made any alliances with your enemies to attack you, you shall fulfill your treaty. You shall not touch them. You can't kill them the moment you sign that peace treaty. So it's a very difficult test, but it's a commandment from God, even at times of war, God says you make a peace treaty, no matter how many people were killed in your side, you have to maintain that peace treaty. So this is the extent to which God teaches us to maintain peace. Keep our own personal feelings aside and ensure peace is established in the society. And also the sacred month. This is also an example of how God advocates peace. There are certain months, you don't see any other community which will say that we will not fight. Nobody will say. If they feel threatened, they don't care whether it is a sacred month or not. They're going to attack you. But for the Muslims, God has said that there are 4 sacred months. You are not supposed to initiate war at this time. In Surah 9 verse 5, once the sacred months are passed and they refuse to make peace. So this is again conditional. You may kill the idol worshippers when you encounter them, punish them and resist every move they make. They repent and observe the contact prayers and give obligatory charity, you shall let them go. God is forgiver, most merciful. So in many of these verses, God is emphasizing that how forgiving is He. It is very hard for you to accept someone who has hurt you, as if, let's say, someone who killed your own family member is coming to the masjid and saying that now I observe the contact prayers, I will give charity and I will give the zakah and everything. It is very hard for you to accept it. You still would want that person to get out of the masjid. That's the kind of, but God says that I am forgiver. So if they have come to you and they have submitted to the religion, you shall let them go. You shall not harm them. So this is these verses are very powerful. God says in Surah 10 verse 25, God invites to the abode of peace and guides whomever He wills in a straight path. So this is the essence of the message. What is God inviting us to? Through all these instructions, through all these laws in the Quran, God is inviting us to the abode of peace. So to attain peace within your heart, God is inviting us through these verses to forgive individuals, to be so strict with establishing peace that even if it is your own people that have been hurt, you still stick to the divine law. God told you not to harm others until they harm you. So you maintain that law and you don't violate it. So these are and guides whomever He wills in a straight path. And in the hereafter also, God says that those who succeed in this world, those who establish peace in this world, those who strive towards establishing peace, God says that peace will be given to them in the hereafter as well. In Surah 14 verse 23, God says, as for those who believe and lead a righteous life, they will be admitted into the gardens with flowing streams. They abide therein forever in accordance with the will of their Lord. Their greeting therein is peace. So that's the epitome of peace and contentment that you will experience in the hereafter. There will be no war, there will be no treaties, there will be no violence, nothing. It's just peace in the hereafter. Once you succeed and you enter paradise, you will only experience peace. That is why there is no jealousy. God says that He will remove jealousy. Why is there jealousy? Because there is a lack of peace within you. You're not happy with something. You are not happy with someone else, or you're not happy with what you have. There's a lack of peace within you. That is the reason why you are jealous about something or someone. If you are at peace, you don't care whether someone has more or less, or doesn't matter to you, doesn't make any difference. But the internal jealousy is a sign of lack of peace. The person is not at peace with himself or herself. So, but this in the hereafter, nobody will experience this in the paradise, because they have already attained peace within themselves. So they do not compare themselves with others, and they have no jealousy. It will be removed from them. And even at the state of your death, someone who's spent their entire life advocating peace, standing up for peace, establishing peace among the people, how do you think that person will die? How will their termination be when the angels approach them at the time of death? What will they experience? The Quran teaches us very clearly in Surah 19:33, and peace, excuse me, the angels, this is in Surah 16:32, the angels terminate their lives in a state of righteousness, saying, peace be upon you, enter paradise now as a reward for your works. So even the angels, when they approach them, such individuals, such souls, such righteous souls who have been advocates of peace and harmony, and they've established peace in this world, even the angels, when they come to take their life, their soul, it will be a peaceful experience for them. It will not be a struggle. Such individuals will be greeted by the angels. Peace be upon you. You shall enter paradise. So they experience peace even during their death. Death is not a very pleasant experience, at least for people who lose their loved ones. But a person who is righteous, it will be a very pleasant experience. They will be greeted by the angels. So much respect will be shown to them. Wishing another soul peace, what does that mean? It means that you are respecting that person. So the angel will respect a person who is dying in a state of righteousness. And you know what will happen to someone who disbelieves? The angels will beat them to pull them out, pull their souls out. So these are the verses that through which God teaches us the importance of peace, how we should establish peace, how we should not just be at peace in some mountain somewhere, but also be advocates of peace. Not just advocates of peace, but makers of peace. We make peace between people. So it is a duty upon the believers to ensure that they maintain peace, they advocate peace, and also make peace, while they try to achieve peace within themselves. So may God guide us and help us in establishing peace.
Have you downloaded Water Puzzle?
And establishing peace within ourselves, so that we may attain eternal peace in the hereafter.